Hello everyone, my name is Jason and I am an ISFP. Thank you for watching. If you have not already subscribed, I would kindly ask that you do so. And if you would be interested in donating to my cause, please click on the link in the description. That will take you to a website where you can donate financially to what I'm doing if you find my videos to be beneficial. I would greatly appreciate that. So if you did not watch my last video called Perceiver Imbalance, ESFP, ESTP, you may want to go back and watch that for some context, or at least the first portion of it, where I talk about the imbalance that happens between our first function and our fourth function. So in this video, I want to talk about how this concept applies to the INFJ and the INTJ. So INFJs and INTJs have introverted intuition as their first function, and they have as their fourth function, therefore, extroverted sensing. Now, these functions are in the traditional MBTI language called perceivers or perceiving functions. In objective personality, they're called observing functions. They're the functions that sensing and intuition in general are the functions that we use to both perceive the world, perceive things, and sort of make sense of them, really. So with introverted intuition likes to narrow down on a concept, narrow down on an idea, narrow down on a path, narrow down on a future. It's not interested in a multitude of possibilities. It's not interested in a multitude of really anything. It wants to drill down on very few possibilities. And extroverted sensing is the function that we use to take in the physical world and then sort of latch on to the data that is provided in it and to gather in the experiences and the physical realities, the facts, if you will, of existence, of the physical realm. And that doesn't just apply to, like, I'm going to scoot up a little, sorry. That doesn't just apply to like rocks and trees. It applies to some extent to other people, not necessarily the way they behave, but it applies to how we take in just all of the data that can be taken in through the sensory. But it's not just taking it in, it's prioritizing it. It's latching onto it. It's keeping it. It's caring about it. It's wanting to gather it in and wanting to store it and to see it as valuable. So what I talked about with the ESFPs and the ESTPs is the fact that they are big at gathering in, but then not necessarily very strong because NI is their inferior function. They're not very strong at making sense of, finding the patterns of, narrowing down on a sort of a concept or an idea that helps to cause all of the physical data to cohere and to make sense. They draw sometimes illogical conclusions because they're gathering in all the data, but they're not really able to find the meaning in it all. With the INFJ and the INTJ, I think what you'll find is that as what objective personality calls single observers, meaning they have that big, huge single observing or perceiving function at the top, in this case, introverted intuition. But because their extroverted sensing is inferior, there's not a lot of balance. And then they go sort of, their perceiver or observer imbalance takes them in the opposite direction of what happens with the ESFP and the ESTP. The INFJ and the INTJ will, because of their overworking of introverted intuition, they will be prone to have already drilled down on an idea, on a plan, on a future, on an I can see what's going to happen here. I know where this is going. They'll drill down on those things very, very quickly, but they won't necessarily take in the sensory data to support the idea or the future or the plan or the concept that they've already drilled down on. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'll give you some examples. I know some INJs, INFJs and INTJs, and they have a tendency to already decide what is going to happen. And sometimes it's sort of an, oh my gosh, I know what's going to happen and it's not good. Or they'll have a tendency to say, no, this can't be, because it's not something that they've known before. It's not in their already drilled down upon idea set. And they'll sort of freak out a little bit and push back against the reality that is in front of them, because they're not willing, they're not focused on, if they haven't grown their extroverted sensing, if they haven't learned to value their extroverted sensing and build it up to bring balance with their introverted intuition, then they could have and probably will have a tendency to say, I already know what's going to happen. I can already see what's going on here. I already know how this is going to turn out. But the sensory data doesn't support it. Now, I said I was going to give you some examples, so let me give them. Let's say that an IN blank J, an INFJ, INTJ, is, works on actually, I can give you an example from my own life. I work with an IN blank J. I'm still not quite sure if she's an INFJ or an INTJ. But they were doing road construction on the road that goes to where we work a couple months ago. And when she would come into work, it was a big deal. How are we going to get in? How are we going to get out? Where will we park? And it's like, it'll be fine. Take in the sensory data. The sensory data says you got here. The construction crew may have closed down part of the road, but they clearly left enough road open for you to get in. You also know that you'll be able to get out. But the freak out comes in the sort of, I can already see what's going to happen. What's going to happen is this is going to turn out bad. This construction is happening. It's not going to be good. I already know it. I already know this is going to cause all kinds of trouble. It's going to cause chaos for us. And what are we going to do? We're not going to be able to overcome this. IJs and EPs will largely see the things that, well, IJs especially, will largely see the things that are going on as being sort of immovable. Whereas IPs and EJs tend to see people as unmovable. IJs are going to see the physical world or the things that go on as immovable. They're going to see the construction that's going on and they're going to say, I already know this is going to be a problem, instead of taking in the sensory data that says, listen, construction is going on all the time, all over the place, okay? You don't need to panic. You don't need to worry. You don't need to freak out. It'll be okay. You'll get through this. We'll all get through this. We'll be able to get down the road. We'll be able to get back out. No problem. But they've already, again, when they're living in this imbalance of my NI is enormous and I'm using it constantly and I'm addicted to it, and I really should be building up my SE to bring some kind of balance to the two, but I'm not doing that. I'm just overworking my introverted intuition and I'm completely neglecting my extroverted sensing that would provide me with the sensory data necessary for me to actually drill down on logical ideas, drill down on ideas that could actually happen, ideas that will actually make sense. When an INJ is doing this, they're going to be so all in on, I already can see what's going to happen, that they fail to, they also fail to draw logical conclusions because they don't have the sensory data to support the conclusions that they're drawing because they don't respect that inferior function. Now, another example is the of how NI can be so all in on its preconceived idea that it refuses to take in the sensory data to support it or to refute it a lot of times. Another example would be, and again, this is with another IJ that I know, when this IJ is presented with an idea that doesn't fit into her already perfected in her mind and constructed box, she will instantly be like, no, we can't do that. No, that's not possible. No, that's not the way it's done. No, you can't do that. And what she could benefit from is saying, okay, I don't understand how this can be done. It's not the way that I've done it before. It doesn't make sense to me to expand and do something in a new way. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong. What I really need to do is I need to research, I need to study, I need to consume information that could help me to broaden my NI box. Okay, I'm making a little box thing here with my hands. I was doing it down here for whatever reason. I thought I'd show you guys that. I've got my little NI box, my little, here's my idea, here's what I've already drilled down on. This is the way that things will turn out, and this is the way that things have to be done, and things can only be this way. And now you're presenting to me an idea that does not fit into my little NI box. No, I just refuse that. I reject that. That's not possible. We can't do that. No. Instead of doing that, the INJ could benefit from saying, all right, I need to consult. I need to listen. I need to research. I need to find out whether or not the sensory data, the physical world, might actually provide some evidence that supports that this idea that I've never thought of before, or that doesn't fit into my little NI box, might actually be, usable. It might actually be doable. It might actually be something that I could take in and say, all right, my little NI box is getting a little bigger because here's an idea that I wanted to reject just right out. But now that I've taken in the sensory data, I can see that the idea is actually not entirely ridiculous. IJs in general are going to be panicky when their established and known box or their way of doing things or their ideas or physical realm that they've drilled down upon and set in perfect order in their mind, anytime that little box that they've created to protect them from the chaos of the outside world gets touched with well, here's an idea or here's a reality that doesn't fit into that box, they are naturally going to want to say, no, I already know this is bad. I already know it. I already know I can't take this information in. And because of that, they are going to frequently limit themselves from the opportunity to grow and to expand and to learn. And that's why the INFJ and INTJ would benefit from growing that extroverted sensing. And by growing it, I mean spending more time taking in the data that is available in the physical world, whether that's experiences or whether that's reading things that they wouldn't normally read, or whether that's, consulting with, talking to, conversing with people that are not in their known circles, whether it's allowing themselves to be exposed to ideas that they would not normally allow themselves to be exposed to. All of these things can sort of grow that IJ box, and in the case of the INFJ and INTJ, the NI box. I already know what's going to happen. I already know how this is going to turn out. I've already got it all planned out. You might be wrong. Your NI box that you've created, INFJs and INTJs, might be lacking some extremely valuable information. And if you would allow yourself to take in more information, you might find that you can fit new things into that NI box that could allow you to grow and find yourself being more comfortable in surprise situations, more comfortable in unknown environments, more comfortable in unknown experiences. I think it's important for each of us to understand that some teachings about MBTI will tell you that your first function is strong and that you're really good with your first function. But that's not really true if you watch people. If you really watch people, what you'll find is where they are strong is in their two middle functions because they are balanced there. It's the EJs and the IPs that are strong when it comes to sensing and intuition. Not because they have one of them at the top and so they just are like, oh my gosh, this is like the most amazing thing, but because they're in the middle and they're balanced. The IPs and the EJs are relatively balanced in the sensing and intuition game. And therefore, they're pretty good at taking in information, making sense of it. Taking in information, making sense of it. Not freaking out about the things that go on around them in the physical world because they're like, okay, I can see what's going to happen here. I get it. I can make sense of this. I've taken in enough data. I can kind of put it together and figure out what's going on. You know, in the ESFP and ESTP video, what I had said was that they're kind of like... they're kind of like people who are working a puzzle without the box. They're very good at seeing all the pieces, the ESFPs and the ESTPs, but they really don't know what the picture is supposed to look like. And they have trouble making sense of how the pieces all fit together. With the INFP and with the INFJ and the INTJ, it's almost like maybe they don't have the box either, but they've just already decided what the picture is. They don't actually know what the picture is. They're just like, no, I already know. I know what this picture is going to turn out. So when they're taking all the pieces of the puzzle and they're trying to put them together, they're putting them together in a way that they've already decided the picture is going to be, but it might not actually be the picture. And what they really need to do is they need to build up their extroverted sensing, which would be going and finding the picture and trusting the picture, believing in the picture. I mean, I think there's people who are really all in on their NI at the expense of their SE, could be so much so that you could give them the box lid and they would be like, no, that's not what the picture looks like. No, that must be the wrong box lid. That's not the puzzle I'm building. And you'd be like, look, the pieces clearly look like they belong to this puzzle. No, that's not right. I know what this puzzle is going to be, and that box lid doesn't go to this puzzle. You're like, okay. So I think INJs could benefit more from not just taking in the sensory that's out there for them, but valuing it. And that would help them to bring balance. Now, unless you think I'm picking on IJs and EPs, they're much more balanced in the thinking, feeling realm, whereas we IPs and the EJs are way imbalanced on the thinking, feeling realm. But for the EPs and the IJs, they're more unbalanced in the sensing intuition realm. And I just wanted to take a moment to say how I see that coming out specifically in INJs. Sorry, I'm babbling now. I apologize for that. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful. Please do leave comments. I love your comments. Regardless of whether you agree or disagree, it just helps me to think better. And then again, please subscribe if you have not already. Please click like if you found this video to be useful. Please forgive me for my sort of babbling there at the end, and have an awesome day.